Kevin here with Texas Veteran Power Outdoors. So now we finally have a chance to bust out all the chainsaws and start some cutting. And we're starting right now. So what we have here is our McCulloch collection so far, and we got a few more McCullochs on the way. This right here is a Mcculloch Eager-Beaver 2.0. Pretty lightweight, but it packs a lot of cc's. This guy right here, for many years, was the world's lightest chainsaw. It's even stamped on there by McCulloch. It's the Power Mac 6, 32.8 cc's, I believe, weighing in at 7.4 pounds. That's just with this part right here, but then add the bar, the chain, the fuel, and the oil, you're looking at 8.8 pounds and 13 ounces. Here's an old Power Mac 15. This is from the late 50s, early 60s, and this is an 80 cc engine. This is definitely heavy. Here's a Power Mac 610. It's also a 60 cc engine, sorry, 80 cc engine, 60 cc engine. We also have a brand new chain on here. Now this is a bigger chain. This is an actual 3/8 chain, where these right here are 1/4 and or half or whatever they are. This is another 3/8 chain. So it's 3/8 chain, 60 links by 50 thousandths. Here's the Pro Mac 55, which I think is like a, I don't know, 52 or 62 cc's, I can't remember. And then the Pro Mac 1010, 54 or 55 cc's. I'll have everything of the information on these guys in the video. I'm sorry, in the video description below. So we got those guys. Okay, so over here, the fuel we're going to be using today is the Echo Red Armor, and then the bar and chain oil is going to be the Husqvarna. Here we got a Stihl MS 170. Okay, and then we have the Echo 58 volt cordless saw. We have the battery charging right now, so we're going to try that guy out. Got the CS 310. We've never used that before, so we're going to give that a shot. We have our Husqvarna 455 Rancher, and then we have the first saw we started out with 2.5 years ago, which is our Husqvarna 240X torq. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be cutting up this wood right here into little bitty cookies. Not necessarily little bitty, because those are pretty good sized chunks of wood there. So we're going to take these one stock at a time, and we're going to strap it to the top of that right there. And we've got some gloves. We've got a strap over here. So once we get the wood on there, we're going to go ahead and strap it down. We're going to leave probably about this much hanging off. That way most of the weight will be down on that little bench, and we're only going to be cutting, about a 1/2 inch strip at a time, 1/4 inch, just enough to get a cut in. And we're going to try these saws out. Now these are mine. This is my collection. I did have I had another 610. I had a Craftsman, and I had a Poland 2000, but I sold those, got them working really good, cleaned them up real good, and sold those. But this is what we have right now. This is what we have in our rotation that we use for work when we're cutting down trees, when we're anything that involves trees and cutting. You need a chainsaw. We rotate these guys into the mix. So we will probably start with the small guys first. Probably start with these two small guys, and then we'll move on to the Stihl MS 170, the CS 310, the Husqvarna 240, and then on up to the bigger guys. We'll do the 455 Rancher, the Pro Mac 55, or sorry, Pro Mac 1010, the 55, and the 610, and the 15. And it's not necessarily a race on who can cut faster. But the difference between a lot of these older chainsaws and the newer stuff is torque and RPM. So a lot of you guys probably don't know, but back when chainsaws were made, you know, that was a whole evolutionary time frame. Everything was constantly evolving so fast, and everything evolves really fast now, but a lot of times it's a lot of gimmicky stuff. You know, they don't have anything truly evolving that is truly something new. Where, you know, back in the dinosaur days, the slightest difference was a huge turn. So power wise, back in these older McCulloch days, in the 50s, 60s, 70s, and 80s, and they're older than that, they date back to the 40s, you had a lot of torque. Okay, a lot of these newer ones here, they have less torque but more RPM. So what Stihl and Echo and some of the other companies wanted to do, hold on, there we go, when they wanted to start making lighter machines, well, they had to change something. You can't have raw power and it be very light. So what they did was they started looking at different kind of castings and moldings for the chainsaw body. You know, what is metal that we can make plastic, but a plastic that can withstand heat, temperatures, and not melt in the operator's hands? What plastic can be rigorous and last a long time? So they went through that whole process, and they had an evolution of time period of all that too. And then the engines, if we could take a smaller chain and move it at a higher RPM, you know, then you don't need all that horsepower. You just move it faster. So that's what they did. So through time and trial and error, they took they went down to smaller engines, changed out different, you know, components. I don't know a lot about engines. Maybe ported it, maybe different kind of camshafts, different kind of intakes, you know, things like that. You still got to have a bang, but then you have that speed, that smaller chain, and it's just blob. You know, Stihl right now is producing some that are, you know, 12, 14,000 RPMs, somewhere around there, I believe. So, you know, you don't have the raw power anymore. This 170 right there can get beat out by any of those two guys right there. Those two little bitty small ones will outperform all of these except that one right there. Those two little guys. That's the difference between pure torque and power versus RPM and speed. So anyway, so some of that we're going to kind of cover while we are cutting this stuff here. You know, I want to see, I haven't done this before with any of these, so I want to see some of the differences. You know, we're not trying to race cut, you know, we're just trying to see how well it cuts. Now, I will sharpen all of the chains so they'll be equally sharp, and so that way it'll be a fair game. Some may take longer to go through than the others, but I just want to see that. Now, I know there's no comparison between, you know, this guy or these guys and those guys up there, and I'm not trying to compare that. I'm just trying to see the difference between modern day technology of thinking faster is better versus older technology of just raw torque and power. I think it'll be pretty close. Now, the wood we're going to be cutting through is just pine. Pine is the soft wood, but this was cut down a few days ago. Then I hauled it in here and cut it up some more. I brought them in the trailer to, I had actually off of two trees. They're 20 feet long after I had cut them down, and then I cut them down into these 4-foot sections once I got them here. So some of them are kind of rotting out, that one and that down there. So we probably won't cut through those, but these other ones look okay. So it's not like, you know, this is elm wood or this is oak or this is, you know, anything like that, you know, walnut, something that's real hard. It's soft, but it still requires power. So we're going to go ahead and get started, and we're going to get some wood up on this bench. Let's get started. Husqvarna is struggling quite a bit. Now this is a fresh pine tree. There is a lot of sap in it, so you're going to have a lot of resistance. But you know, this is, I believe, it may not be the entry-level chainsaw for Husqvarna, but it's, you know, it's pretty close. It's just their 240. It's not a very big engine, but as you can see, you know, between this, which is bigger in size compared to the other McCulloch, the Eager-Beaver, there was no comparison. I mean, that Eager-Beaver sliced right through it. It could cut 2 by the time this cut 1. So there's a little bit of a difference there. Now McCulloch doesn't make the Eager-Beaver no more. In fact, they don't make any chainsaws for North America anymore. They only made in the UK. And I don't know the reason for that, but they were made in Los Angeles, California for the longest time. And Robert Paxton McCulloch was the creator of McCulloch. Actually, it was McCulloch Engine Corporation or something like that. They made high-performance engines for boats. They made them for go-karts. They made them for all kinds of things. They were a big household name for a long time. So let's go ahead and break out one of the other saws. Here was made from 68 to 74. This is the Power Mac 6. It's a 32.8 cc engine. Just the power unit by itself will weigh 7 pounds 4 ounces. Then you add the bar, the chain, the oil, and the fuel full. You're looking at 8 pounds and 13 ounces. And for a long time, this was the world's lightest chainsaw. And so now I think Echo's got one for North America, but that size, it doesn't quite have a lot of torque that I think it's missing in that small machine. It's got a lot of high RPM, but you know, to be real light, you don't want to sacrifice your torque just to have that status. So with this right here, it's still a lot of power in your hands. Now these engines that McCulloch used are just incredible. So we're going to go ahead and fire this up, let it warm up for just a few minutes, and then go ahead and make a couple cuts. Oh, I broke my rope. Oh. I didn't top it off with fuel, so that may be choking a little bit. But I also haven't cleaned the carburetor in this one yet. Little bitty 2.0. Here we have the Echo CS310, and I believe that's a 16-inch bar. This is Echo's pretty much their entry-level chainsaw. That's gas-powered. You know, you have the 58-volt cordless chainsaw, which does pretty good. And so we haven't used this before. So this will be the first time to use it. We don't need to sharpen the chain because it's brand new. It does come with a tip guard, so that's pretty cool. So we get that on there. It won't be in the way for what we're doing. This is a 30.5 cc engine. So it is a little smaller than those than that McCulloch, that 32.8 I think it was. But you could have two engines that are the same size, but if one is built different, you know, for more high performance, you know, the crankshaft is different, the intake is different, combustion is all different. You can have two different performance engines. So we'll see how this guy right here works. Make sure your safety's on. Let's go ahead and do the fuel bubble here, get some fuel in there. Oh, there we are. All right. Choke is out. This is on. There's a lot of stuff you got to do. I do notice right away that it's real easy to pull. I like that. That might have been the partial start.
Definitely doesn't sound like your power monster engine that's just ready to roll. Still gotta warm up though. Got two different shades of orange. That's gonna look horrible in about 5 years. Well, it doesn't sound like it has a lot of balls, but there's a lot of sap in there. You can feel it. It's pretty sticky. But just like that Husqvarna, you know, the entry-level saws, what's happening is, you know, we're cutting, you know, this is, you know, 10, 12 inches, so it's taking up almost this whole bar. It's only a 16-inch bar, I believe, or 14-inch, something like that. So we're getting to about right here. Now that's a lot of load that's putting on this engine. It's having to cover from here to here of this type of wood and cut it out and just keep doing. Where we were just cutting right here, you know, that's a big difference. So the harder the wood, it's going to be more strain on the engine, you know, but it is just an entry-level chainsaw. You know, it's not designed to go out there and, you know, cut down national forests and stuff. But you know, it's 200 bucks. Not a bad saw, although I would like to see it with a few more cc's. I would like to see it probably 35 cc's. To be honest with you, I think 5 more would make a big difference for this saw here, because this, I mean, pine is very soft wood, and it was definitely struggling. So we had to, and I wasn't pushing on it. I was giving just a little bit of encouragement to want to go forward, and it was choking up, so we had to lift up a little bit. But all right, so let's go ahead and move on to our Stihl MS-170. Okay, here we have the Stihl MS-170, and this is pretty much their, you know, entry-level homeowner chainsaw. We have used this once before, so it's still new. The trick, some of these Stihls don't have primer bulbs, which I really like, but on this guy, I don't know about the other models, but this model, when you choke it, you want to squeeze your trigger all the way up, then you take this knob all the way down. If you try to push it down, it's going to stop, because your pieces inside there that are doing this right here are jamming each other. So you can bend that and break it, and then you're wondering why your deal doesn't start. So remember, trigger all the way in, then that goes down. Then once it does the partial start, come up, couple more pulls, let it run, and then once you squeeze the trigger, it'll pop back up, so it'll be good to go. This is about the same in the cc's. It's not too much bigger. I think it's probably the exact same. This does require a tool to take the top cover off to get to your air filter, where that Echo one did not. So that was pretty cool. All right, so we're going to go ahead and get this guy warmed up. Oop. I already like the sound a lot better. Look at that bug right there. It's telling me it's ready to go. Get out of here, bug. That little cookie piece and the main part of the tree are wanting to close in on it. The power saw doesn't have enough power to blast through that, so that's what's happening in case you're wondering. Weak. That's why I don't buy entry-level chainsaws. That was definitely not exciting. Over here you can see where a lot of that sap was being pushed down by all that pressure. Now we weren't pushing this chainsaw that hard. See the difference between here and here? A lot more of that sap had pushed over here. And this saw was just having a hard time cutting through. And the chain is sharp, so just doesn't have that power to push through a tree with sap. So you know, just another thing to think about when you go to buy a chainsaw. You want to think about, what are you going to be cutting, you know, the majority of the time. Okay, what are some other trees that you might be cutting? You know, and think about that. If they're trees that have a lot of sap in it, you're gonna need something with a lot more power in it. Maybe something with a bigger chain. Oak tree, this probably would have been okay. It probably would have had a hard time on this size, but just some of the differences there between the Husqvarna, the Echo, and that first McCulloch Eager-Beaver. That little bitty guy, and it's old, discontinued, and it just plowed right through this stuff. So That's some of the difference between RPM and torque, that what you're seeing right there. We haven't even gotten to the big boys yet. Okay guys, so now we moved on to our Husqvarna 455 Rancher. This is still a homeowner's model. All of these really homeowner models, except maybe the Power Mac 6 and the Mac 55 and the Mac 1010, but they're borderline professional. So this one right here is the Husqvarna. It has I think a 20-inch bar I have on there, and it's got a 3/8 chain. It's got a decompression valve here, and it just packs a punch. I believe it's a 50-something cc's, low 50s, maybe 55, 56, somewhere right around there. I've had it for a year. We haven't used it a whole lot, but we've used it quite a bit. Got the chain sharpened, so it's ready to go. So let's go ahead and fire this guy up. We got fuel and water in there, or fuel and oil in there. Sorry about that. Now we're talking. So now this isn't, the McCulloch 610 has a 60cc engine, and this is just below that. So I don't know if it's between 50 and 56cc, somewhere right in there. You could probably see maybe some of the comparison as far as power and how quick I was able to cut off 3 little discs. So it does have a lot of power. If I was going to purchase, a homeowner model, you want to try to stay away from the first 1 or 2 models at the bottom of that list and maybe go up. This one retails about $450, and I think it's worth it. It definitely packs a lot of punch, and makes a big difference when you go to start it to press your decompression valve in there. That releases some of the pressure when you go to start it. So, okay, I think now we're ready for the McCulloch Mac 1010 and the McCulloch Pro Mac 55. So let's grab those. Alrighty, so now we're going to move into a little bit bigger engine. Here we got the McCulloch 610. Here we go. It has electronic ignition. I'll tell you right now, it's real easy to pull this guy. This is probably easier to pull start than any of the other ones that we've done so far. And actually it might even be easier than any of the other ones. So this is a 60cc engine. It does have a brand new chain on it. We just had it cut the other day. 60 links, 3/8 chain, so it's heavy. 50 thousandths of an inch on your bar. So we do have fuel. We do have everything in it that we need, bar and chain oil. So let's go ahead and choke it. Now this one does have a choke. Now this one was made in the 90s. So this one has a choke, but no push. No push bulb. I haven't seen that in any other ones. It does have a push oiler. Alright, let's go get this guy started. Oh yeah. about you, but that was a lot of fun. I mean, we just cut off 3 of those little cookies in no time, and it's smoking like it's the DeLorean from Back to the Future. All right, well, so one of the cool features about this guy that none of the other saws actually have, of the ones that I have, is it has a fuel level indicator on the side of the tank, which is pretty cool. So it does hold a lot of fuel. I don't remember what the ounces are, but it's a lot. I don't know if it's like 18 ounces or 20 or whatever it is, but it does have that fuel level indicator there. See, we got 3/4, half, and quarter. So that's a pretty cool feature. Real easy to start. But this thing is heavy. But you know, you got to remember, you know, I think the only thing plastic on here is this piece, you know, maybe like the pull handle, the cap, and you know, this is metal. It's just has a rubber coating, a little bit better grip. What I like about it. But you can go to a bigger chain. Standard is the 16-inch bar here. You can go to longer chain. Sorry, 16-inch bar here. I think you can go up to, like, I've seen people use a 24, 26, 28-inch bar on this guy. This engine is no punk. It's got a lot of raw power you just saw to back it up, the balls with the speed. And so we're going to move on to the, okay, we've done all those. So let's move on over to the Mac 15. Now, we've never cut with that before. We finally got it running. We got it in the other day, about a week or so ago. I broke it down, cleaned it up really good. So this will be the first time we'll sharpen the chain, or it should be sharpened already. So the Mac 15, when it came out, is late 50s, early 60s. It was not an arborist chainsaw. It was designed for the homeowner. It was heavy, but you know, everything was heavy back in those days. Your car keys were heavy. And so it's not going to cut as fast as like this one right here. This is a good performance saw made to do some work. So, but I want to see how it cuts. So we're gonna bust that guy out real quick. All right, well, we finally got it started. It's had a little problem with the pull rope, but we got it. Now we're gonna go ahead and do some cutting. We never used it before. We'll see what's gonna happen. How's that for a dandy? Well, as you can see, it's got a lot of power, but it didn't have a lot of RPMs. You know, again, this is back in the 50s, so the mid to late 50s. So back then, you know, chainsaws were still at a huge innovation of what they were doing. And you know, I mean, this thing is heavy. The thing probably weighs 20 plus pounds, 30 pounds or so. But it was a homeowner model. It could get you through the winter if you need to cut some firewood, whatever the case may be. It did the job. And manual oiler back here. You can see here. Yep, see, it comes out right there. So that's going to make sure you kept that oiled as you were, you know, cutting, so that way nothing would burn up or melt. So we're going to go ahead and pull out the Husqvarna 455 Rancher. We got that one, the Pro Mac 55 and the Pro Mac 1010 to do. And then I think the battery for the Echo 58 volt cordless should be ready. So we'll give that one, that'll be our last one for the day. And then we'll have to do another video on the McCulloch Power Mac 6 when we replace the pull cord on it, because it busted as I pulled it out. But it could be the original cord, who really knows. All right. Oh, man. Hey guys, so now we got the McCulloch Pro Mac 1010. This is a 18-inch bar on here, I think. 18, 16, 18. I think it looks about an 18. You know, now we're getting to a lot more torque, a lot more power. On all of my McCullochs, I haven't had a chance to really break them completely down, clean them out thoroughly, and tune up the carburetor and put them back together. I haven't done any of that, except I think to one of them I did that. But they all do have new fuel filters, spark plugs, air filters. Those all are brand new, except this one. The Pro Mac 1010 and the 55 I have air filters coming. So here we got, you know, we want to oil up our bar here. Make sure, all right, so we got some oil out there, so that's good, you can see it. That's one thing I really like about these machines. You can't destroy them. If you can deal with a little bit of the weight, they got all the power. You can still find parts online on eBay and some other part companies I found up north that bought all of McCulloch stuff, and a lot of other brands. They have parts by the thousands and they're cheap. So we're gonna get this guy fired up. I do need to tune the carburetor just a little bit, so there may be just a tad bit of hesitation once we put a load on it, but I think through this it should be okay. Let's go ahead and get this guy fired up. Hear it in that power when you hit that throttle, and in chainsaws it's either on or off. You know, you don't want to, you know, while you're trying to cut through stuff, you want to hit that full trigger, full blast. That's how you should use a chainsaw all the time. So you could tell it wasn't quite maxing out where it should be on your torque, your RPM, but when you're adjusting your carburetor on your high setting, your high needle, once it gets to that whoa, and then you back it back down, whoa, and that's right where you want to be, because you don't want it maxed out. You want just below that. That'll be okay. But that little bit of tune that we're going to get to it eventually. But for an old saw, this thing packs a mean punch, I tell you. So you know, you can still find these on eBay for a couple $100 plus shipping. If you're lucky, you can find the one that's never been used or ever had fuel in it on eBay. Right now it's going for like $2,000, and it's the Mac 1010. They have a special edition too. There's a couple different Mac 1010 models. They made them from the 60s, late 60s, early 70s, or early 70s, mid 70s, I can't remember, but it's an older machine. But a lot of torque. You know, you don't have the high RPM like maybe you know, something else out there, but you got that torque. So now we're going to go ahead and pull out our last one. Well, no, we have the Pro Mac 55, and then we'll pull out the Echo 58 volts. So let's get to it. Okay, guys, so we got our McCulloch Pro Mac 55 here with I think 16-inch bar is what we got on here. And this is from the 70s, I believe. And this has a decompression button here, which is good. This machine's got a lot of torque and a lot of power. You do have the push manual on the oil, which I really like, because you can give it a little bit more if you want, and you can see it coming out, so that's pretty cool. We did just sharpen the chain. The chain's been on there a while. It's Oregon bar, Oregon chain. I believe this is right around 60-62 cc's. I may be wrong, but it's pretty close in there. So we're going to go ahead and cut through these, and then we're going to fire up the last chainsaw after this. Oops. I don't know about you, but that was very adrenaline rushing. That was awesome. So out of all the chainsaws I have, this is my favorite one. It's just the right mixture ratio between torque, power, weight overall of this machine, the bar, the 18-inch. I really don't need anything bigger than that. These McCullochs, this one, the 1010, you know, I mean, they start on the first pull. Within 1 or 2 pulls, which is great. The compression is fantastic on these McCullochs, especially this 55. And you know, I mean, you just can't beat these old machines. They're dinosaurs, but these are where all the power came from. And so nowadays, what the manufacturers are going to is, in order to give the operator, you know, a lighter machine, they have to do a couple of things. They have to take away this metal frame and give that operator plastic, unfortunately. And there's nothing plastic on here except this right here. This is metal. Even these lids, these are metal right here. All of it, it's all metal except this little rubber knob here. That's it. Well, maybe these buttons are plastic. Everything is solid metal. And they take the machine and they do away with all that torque, that low end torque you're going to have, that lower RPM. I think this is like a 6,000 or 8,000 RPM max. And then they take these engines, make them smaller, and they do what they need to do to them to make them rev faster, put a smaller chain on it, really sharp, a good quality steel, and then you're cutting wood almost as fast, if not faster, than this guy, but you're not being fatigued because it's a lighter machine, you know. And you know, that's just how it is. You know, automobiles have kind of gone that way too, for various reasons. So we're going to go ahead and pull out the Echo 58 volt cordless chainsaw, and I'm not, you know, that's not a big go-getter on that guy, but it's a good homeowner tool to have. And you know, there's no cleanup required because there's no oil, there's no gas. It's just, you know, charge your battery, and you go out, you do your job. So, all right, so let's go and grab that saw. All right. Okay, so we got our last chainsaw here of the day. This is the Echo 58 volt cordless chainsaw, and I think the chain will be fine. I didn't sharpen it, I should have, but I think we'll be okay. So we're going to be using the 4 amp hour battery, which is the only one I recommend to use on this. Now the 2 amp and the 4 amp battery are the same. Same 58 volt. It's just one will last a little bit longer because one's twice the amount of battery life, which is the 4.0. But if you're going to use a chainsaw, and if you use the 2.0, I guess that's okay too. But we're full on our battery here. You do need to have bar and chain oil. That's the only type of fluid you're going to need in this little guy, and we got plenty. Today we've been using the Husqvarna bar and chain oil and the Echo Red Armor fuel. We only use Echo Red Armor fuel in our McCullochs because it's an older machine, way older machine, and the cleaning additives that are in that fuel really breaks down those carbon buildups over those years. So on the newer ones, you know, whatever we have available, it'd be Red Max, Husqvarna, Stihl, Echo, you know. Okay, so this guy's pretty simple. There's no, you know, on-off button or anything, but you got your little safety. So you're gonna have 2 little things you got to do in order for this guy to come on. You got to push this guy back, then you can squeeze your trigger. But you have to have this off. So that is just to protect you in case you're cutting, and then that shuts it off. So when you go to put your battery in here and you pull this trigger, well, nothing's happening, you got to make sure your chain brake is off. There you go. Alright, so just those few cuts we have drawn down to 3 bars. Now it is quite a bit of wood, plus a lot of sap, so it's using a lot of energy to do all that. But for electric chainsaw, it does really well. I can't remember the price on this guy, so you may want to check online, your local dealer or Home Depot. They sell Echo products too. It does come with a 16-inch bar, and I would probably just keep that on there. So if you had a chance or a choice between this and maybe the Echo CS310 or the Husqvarna 240, I'd say they're probably, performance-wise, they're pretty comparable. You know, I would, depending what you're going to use it for, you know, it would either be this one or one or the other. But if you could buy some extra batteries, and I tell you what, depending on the wood, you can really cut up a cord of wood or, you know, a lot of other firewood. So this is great for the homeowners. And you know, if you're living up in, you know, hill country or something, you know, a lot of people keep chainsaws in their trucks, so this would be a good one to have, so you don't have to worry about fuel spilling or, you know, fuel staying in the carburetor for a long period of time and causing problems. So, well guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. I know we kind of made a mess, but we had a lot of fun doing it. And you know, mainly we were just showing the differences between the old power saws and the new saws. I do have one other chainsaw that I haven't received yet that we're going to be trying, and that is the Echo Timberwolf. So we'll do a video on that when that comes in, and then of course the Mcculloch Pro Mac 6, when we get a new pull cord on that guy, we'll come out here and we'll do the same thing with these guys. So if you have any questions, just leave them in the comment section down below. All the information about all of these saws, I'll leave them in the description. The power, you know, maybe a link to Amazon or eBay or the website of where you can purchase them at. We can find out a little bit more information on them or whatnot. So, well, we'll see you guys next time. I'm Kevin with Texas Veteran Power Outdoors. Take care.